If you were to ask me what I think a good fit for the Discovery LHT 3-15 would be, here is my proposal. This would be my submission. I think this 7PRC from Cascade, it's the Long Range Hunter model, I think this works really well with this. I do have some of those Discovery 30mm rings. They're adjustable height rings. You can actually see some of the information inside of there. You have two sets of Torx, so you can adjust the height. And it's not a slanted kind of thing. You can't adjust it that way, but you can adjust the actual height. So both of them are uniform. Anyways, this would be the Optic and rifle combination for me, because 3-15, I've already shown, I've shot this past 1,000 yards with this setup right here. With just some Hornady ELDX, pretty sure. That's actually what I'm going to shoot today. I think this Hornady ELDX is a phenomenal load. I think it works really well. It does crush animals. It is going to, put a lot of smackdown on them. It's a hard-hitting load. And with this Optic, I can see well enough. I have enough light transmission. I think the clarity is sufficient for the kind of hunting that I do and the shots I take. If you were going to go elk hunting, I think you would feel similarly with this Optic and rifle combination. It is a hard-hitting rifle. The sun is going down, and what I would like to do, I'll take off these Discovery caps. Let's just do a quick test with this load. I've already tested a lot of other ammo, and I want to know if this one has much for a point of impact shift or change, and I want to know how that can does with this load in particular as well. And so I'm going to load up a couple here. It's quite cold. Probably do the rest of this off camera, but let's just see what we can do. One shot with the can on, one shot with the can off. Grab that parallax. And let's go right about there. Nice clear image, plenty of light collection, really. Now I typically shoot this in the prone, so my eye relief is just slightly different off the bench. I don't usually sit this way and shoot it. It's okay. Let's see how that anechoic 30L can does. Wow, that takes a lot out of it. Normally this rifle really bounces. It'll jump pretty high. That can took it out of there. Huh, my point of impact is pretty much the same. Not bad. Okay, I'm glad to see that. Let's do one more. Wow. That's a lot of energy. She hits hard. Definitely hits hard, but better with a Canon. It's way more comfortable. Not just the sound and the report. Actually, the recoil process is so much more comfortable with the can on. It's a good flow-through can. I'm not getting a huge amount of gas coming back at me. Actually, I think a lot of it went out, but so much of the sound has been knocked down. And with this reticle, the LHT reticle, it's a great optic. Nice, clear, bold lines with a good center dot. And it's airy enough that I can see around and see if I were to miss. And on low power, I can still use it. 3 power, I can make shots with this. And that's without illumination. Comfortably, though, I think running around with this guy on 8 power all day is what I would do just about anywhere. Especially with the parallax, it can go as close as this one does. As the sun is going down, I thought a good idea for a video this month would actually be to tell you about why you might consider a 3-15 and not the 4-20 or the 6-24 HD or the 5-25 or 6-36 or whatever. This is a very capable rifle. Like, you can shoot real far with 7PRC. And I've shot this system, like I said, past 1,000, and it's effective. Plenty of foot-pounds energy. But actually, the Optic doesn't need to be a 5-25 to do that. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes I prefer that. Some precision rifles that are set up that way, I want that big 5-25, the heavy optic or the 6-36. I want the weight. I want to balance it out. But when it comes to this little guy right here, this isn't a terribly heavy rifle. It's actually really reasonable. So one of the concerns I had about it being 7 PRC is it can knock you around if you don't have a good comp on it or a good can. And so when it comes to an optic, as much as it's nice to put on the big zoomies and the big optic that weighs, 2 pounds, I don't want to carry that around. And most of you don't either. If you're a sheep hunter, you're not going to walk around with a full weight, PRS gun, full weight PRS optic. You're cutting and shaving weight everywhere you can. And this is a budget optic. I know that it's a budget optic, but when it comes to budget optics, there's folks who have lighter weight rifles and they don't want to carry around a heavy rifle either. And so this is going to be superior to a lot of those bigger optics, even the ED 5-25, because it just doesn't weigh as much. You have a smaller footprint, you have smaller turrets, you have a nearer parallax. This parallax can go down incredibly close. Going down to 15 yards is something that when it comes to hunting, I actually really value. I might get some of those surprise shots where the deer actually comes right up to me, or maybe for you it's an elk or whatever else you're hunting, especially a small game. So I value having good low-end power. This goes down to 3 power, and it's not a fishbowl to look through. It's not, getting weird and distorted. It's not perfect either, but it's not hard to look through. I can use the center of the glass, relatively well. The edges might not be perfect, but the center of the glass looks decent. And so I can get a nice clear image. I can run the parallax down close, wide field of view, and still reasonable light collection. It may not be a 56 millimeter objective, but I can get reasonable light collection. So I know that there's a huge push, and there has been for a long time, for heavy, high-end, high magnification optics. They have their place, and I like to run them. You've seen them on my channel. I just shot the Discovery 6-36 past a mile. I think it was 1921 or something like that. Or maybe I shot 2157 with it as well. I kind of forget which distances I use that scope for. But I ran 6.5 Creedmoor out really, really far with the 6-36. And I just don't need a 6-36 on every hunting gun. This is a very practical gun. It's maybe not quite a precision rifle, but it's precise. It shoots well. It can shoot some really tight groups, and it's a hunting-capable rifle, so I just don't think it makes sense to load it down with 6 power being my low-end power. It's going to be a darker image than the 3 power is here to some degree. It's going to have less field of view than this 3-15 is going to have. And it's going to have a heavy footprint, or a large footprint and heavy weight. So you really do need to think about that. I've been seeing a lot of people throwing on huge, just enormous optics on their hunting rifles. And in my opinion, you do whatever you want, really, truly do whatever you want. I just don't think it makes sense. I actually hunted this last season and took a deer with a 1-10. I used an LPVO, a 1-10, and I shot that deer, I think on 1.5 power at 70 yards. And I wasn't doing anything risky. It was a first focal plane. I wasn't doing anything risky. It was, pretty normal. I just felt comfortable doing it. I didn't have a lot of question about whether I should pull the trigger. I knew what I was looking at. The reticle worked. And that's what I find with the 3-15, is the 3-15 works. It does well for hunting. It does well for plinking. It's really a great crossover magnification line. You can shoot it pretty far. There's a good amount of internal elevation. The tracking is true, just like you would get on the 6-36. But it's just not as bulky. I don't have to work around it. It's not hard to fit into a gun case, in and out of an Eberle stock. And that's something that probably matters to me just as much at the end of the day. I don't like hauling around things that are constantly snagging, trying to drag them through the woods. Like, you can see how thick it is behind me. I don't like dragging rifles through the woods like that look like my PRS rifle. It's just uncomfortable. I'm getting older. It's too much. And the more that I shoot, the more I realize that lower magnification is actually more valuable when it comes to hunting rifles specifically. Certain kinds of competition, shooting close and fast, again, it matters. But for me, this rifle, or this optic, even though it's cheaper, it's not as expensive as a 5-25 or the 6-36. It does perform better on this rifle for the way that I need to. So if you've been thinking about getting a Discovery optic and you're looking at the 5-25, 6-36, and the prices are good, they're tempting, don't be swayed just by magnification. Actually think about your application. Think about what you're doing and what your budget requires. You could save a few dollars and get this one. It is a little cheaper, and then have more money for ammo. that might be a really important thing when it comes to your hunting rifle. Take some time to practice. Shoot in the prone, shoot off a tree branch, do something that replicates how you actually hunt. Instead of just saying, well, all the competition guys are going with 5-25s and 6-36s and putting them on their, lightweight rifles. You don't need to do that. That's just not necessary. In my experience, it's actually better to run something like this. So thank you, Discovery, for sending this out to the channel. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, do all the things. But I do have more videos. In fact, I have a review on this I would really like you to watch. Go ahead and watch that right here.